Hujambo, habari gani? Mimi ni kupenda na wewe, mimi ni kupenda na mimi, moja kupenda. Furaha saba siku, furaha saba siku, furaha saba siku. Happy seventh day. How y'all doing? One more time. Back at it again. By the grace of my God, the other God, I'm going to do this and continue this until I read this whole book. And those who going to read with me, or whatever. But it's going to be put up. So the option is going to be there for whoever, seek it to find out from the book of life. One more time. Fugaha. Sabasiku. 7th day. Happy 7th day. Fugaha Sabasiku. The book of life. That's what it called itself. I ain't put no title on it. I'm just use the title that it put upon itself. Now, yeah. Exodus. Second book of Moses. Chapter 31. In the words of Steve Harvey, read. Then the God spoke to Moses, saying, see, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Or, and the family of Judah. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom and understanding and knowledge and in all kinds of workmanship, to design artistic works, to work in gold and silver and bronze, in cutting jewels, for setting, in carving wood, and to work in all kinds of workmanship. And I, indeed I, have appointed with him Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the family of Dan. And I have put wisdom in the hearts of all the gifted artisans, that they may make all that I have commanded you: the tabernacle of meeting, the ark of the testimony, and the mercy seat that is on it, and all the furniture of the tabernacle, the table and its utilities, the pure gold lampstand with all its utensils, the altar of incense, the altar of burnt offering with all its utensils, and the laver and its base, the garments of ministry, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons to minister as priests, and the anointing oil and sweet incense for the holy place, according to all that I have commanded you, they shall do. And the God spoke to Moses, saying, speak also to the children of Israel, saying, surely my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generation, that you may know that I am the God who sanctifies you. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy to you. Everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death, for whoever does any work on it, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the God. Whoever does any work on the 7th day, he shall surely be put to death. Therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the God made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And when he had made an end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone, written with the finger of God. Now when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, come, make us gods that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, break off the gold earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. Exodus book 2, Moses, chapter 32, verse 2. Golden earrings, the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters. So, nothing new, baby. Nothing new. reason, purpose, goal. So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with the engraving tool and made a molded calf. Then they said, "This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt." Now, when you see that, chapter 32, Moses, verse 4, yeah, that when they say, "This is your God, O Israel," it's a baby G. Now, it's a baby G, babe. Anyway, verse 5, chapter 32. So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord." Then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. And the God said to Moses, "Go down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made for them a molded calf and worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, 'This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt.'" And the God said to Moses, "I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people like y'all." My people, I love my people, but it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation. Then Moses pleaded with the God, his God, and said, "God, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians speak and say, He brought them out to harm them, to kill them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce wrath and relent from this harm to your people." Capital Y. Can I say your people? Capital Y. "Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your descendants to the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of I give to your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever." So the God relented from the harm which he said he would do to his people. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain, and the two tablets of the testimony were in his hand. The tablets were written on both sides, one on the one side and on the other. They were written. Now the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. And when Yahshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, "There's a noise of war in the camp." But he said, "It is not the noise of the shout of victory, nor the noise of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing I hear." So it was, as soon as he came to the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancers. So Moses' anger became hot, and he cast the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. Then he took the calf which they had made, burned it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and he scattered it on the water, and made the children of Israel drink it. And Moses said to Aaron, "Why did this people do to you that you have brought? What did this people do to you that you have brought so great a sin upon them?" So Aaron said, "Do not let the anger of my Lord become hot. You know the people, that they are set on evil. For they said to me, Make us gods, baby G, that shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." And I said to them, "Whoever has any gold, let them break it off." So they gave it to me, and I cast it into the fire, and this calf came out. Now when Moses saw that the people were unrestrained, for Aaron had not restrained them, to their shame among their enemies. Then, then Moses stood in the entrance of the camp and said, "Whoever is on the God's side, come to me." And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together to him. And he said to them, "Thus says the God of Israel, let every man put his sword on his side and go in and out from interest to interest throughout the camp. And let every man kill his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor." So the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moses. And about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. Then Moses said, "Consecrate yourselves today to the God, that he may bestow on you a blessing this day. For every man has postponed opposed his son and his brother. Now it came to pass on the next day that Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin, so now I will go up to the God. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. Then Moses returned to the God and said, oh, these people have committed a great sin and have made for themselves a god of gold. Yet now, if you forgive their sin, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written. One more time, Exodus chapter 32. 32. Chapter 32, verse 32. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written. Your book. And the God said to Moses, whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book. Now therefore go, lead the people to the place of which I have spoken to you. Behold, my angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit for punishment, I will visit punishment upon them for this sin. So the God plagued the people because of what they did with the calf which Aaron made. Chapter 33. Then the God said to Moses, depart and go up from here, you and the people whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt, to the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, to your descendants I will give it. And I will send my angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanite, and the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Pezerite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in your midst, lest I consume you on the way, for you are a stiff-necked people. And when the people heard this bad news, they mourned, and no one put on his ornaments. For the God had said to Moses, say to the people, say to the children of Israel, you are stiff-necked people. I could come up into your midst in one moment and consume you. Now, therefore, take up your ornaments, that I may know what to do to you. So the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by Mount Horeb. Moses took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of meeting. And when it came to pass that everyone who saw the God went out to the tabernacle of meeting, which was outside the camp. So it was, whenever Moses went out to the tabernacle, that all the people rose, and each man stood at his tent door and watched Moses until he had gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass when Moses entered the tabernacle that the pillar of cloud descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the God talked with Moses. All the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose and worshiped, each man in his tent door. All the people rose and worshiped, not bent down and worshiped, they rose and worshiped. So the God spoke to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend, and he would return to the camp. But his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart from the tabernacle. Then Moses said to the God, see, you say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. Now therefore I pray, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, and that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people. And he said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Then he said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here. For how will it be known that your people and I have found grace in your sight, except you go with us? So we shall be separate, your people and I, from all the people who are upon the face of the earth. So the God said to Moses, I will do this thing that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. And he said, please show me your glory. Then he said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of the God before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live. And the God said, here is a place by me, and ye shall stand on the rock. So it shall be, while my glory passes by, that I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand while I pass by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. Exodus chapter 34. And God said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones, and I write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you broke. So be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai, and present yourself to me there on the top of the mountain. And no man shall come up with you, and let no man be seen throughout all the mountain. Let neither flocks nor herds feed before that mountain. So he cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones. Then Moses rose early in the morning and went up, went up Mount Sinai as the God had commanded him, and he took in his hand the 2 tablets of stones. Now the God descended in the cloud and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of the God. And the God passed before him and proclaimed, the God, merciful and gracious, long-standing and abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, by no means clearing the guilty, visiting iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and the children's children to the 3rd and 4th generations. So Moses made haste and raised his head toward the heaven and worship. Yeah, so Moses made haste and raised his head toward the heaven and worship. Then he said, if now I have found grace in your sight, O God, let my God, I pray, go amongst us, even though we are a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us as your inheritance. And he said, behold, I make a covenant before all your people. I will do marvels such as have not been done in all the earth, nor in any nation. And all the people among whom you are shall see the work of the God, for it is an awesome thing that I will do with you. Observe what I command you this day. Behold, I am driving out from before you, the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Pezerite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Yeah. Take heed to yourself, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where you are going, lest it be a snare in your midst. Take heed to yourself, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where you are going, lest it be a snare in your midst. Yeah, Exodus chapter 34, verse 12. That's what's wrong with us. We done made a covenant with the inhabitants of the land that exclude us. 13 white guys, get your black ass out of it. Wow. 34. Exodus 34:13. But you shall destroy their altars, break their sacred pillars, and cut down their wooden images. For you shall worship no other God, for the God whose name is jealous is a jealous God. Lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they play the harlot with their gods, and make you sacrifice to their gods, and one of them invites you, and you eat of his sacrifice. You take of his daughters for your sons, and his daughters play the harlot with their gods, and make your sons play the harlot with their gods. You shall make no molded gods for yourself. The feast of unleavened bread you shall keep. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you, in an appointed time of the month of Abib. For in the month of Abib you came out from Egypt. All that open the womb are mine, and every male firstborn among your livestock, whether ox or sheep. But the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem him, then you shall break his neck. All the firstborns of your sons you shall redeem, and none shall appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day you shall rest. In plowing time and in harvest you shall rest. And you shall observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. 3 times in a year all your men shall appear before thee, God, the God of Israel. For I will cast out the nations before you and enlarge your borders. Neither will any man covet your land when you go up to appear before the God, your God, 3 times in the year. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, nor shall the sacrifice of the feast of the Passover be left until morning. The first of the first fruits of your land you shall bring to the house of the God, your God. You shall not boil a young goat in his mother's milk. Then the God said to Moses, write these words, for according to the tenure of these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. So he was up there with the God 40 days and 40 nights. He neither ate bread nor drank water. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. Now it was so, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he came down from the mount, that Moses did not know what that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. So when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. Then Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned to him, and Moses talked with them. Afterward, all the children of Israel came near, and he gave them the commandments, all that the God had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. And when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moses went in before the God to speak with him, he would take the veil off until he came out. And he would come out and speak to the children of Israel, whatever he had been commanded. And whenever the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, then Moses would put the veil on his face again until he went in to speak with him. Chapter 35. Then Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together and said to them, these are the words which the God has commanded you to do. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th day shall be a holy day for you, a Sabbath of rest to the God. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout your dwellings on the Sabbath day. And Moses spoke to all the children, to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing which the God commanded, saying, take from among your offering to the God. Whoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it as an offering to the God. Gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skins, and acacia, acacia wood, and acacia wood, ACACIA, chapter 35, verse 7, acacia wood. Okay, chapter 8, verse 8, oil for the light, and spices for the anointing oil and for the sweet incense. Onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate. All who are gifted artisans among you shall come and make all that the God has commanded. The tabernacle, its tents, its covering, its claps, its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets. The ark and its poles with the mercy seat and the veil of the covering. The table and its poles, all its utensils, and the showbread. Also the lampstand for the light, its utensils, its lamps, and the oil for the light. The incense altar, its poles, the anointing oil, the sweet incense, and the screen for the door at the entrance of the tabernacle. The altar of burnt offering with its bronze grating, its poles, all its utensils, and the laver and its base. The hangings of the court, its pillars, the sockets, and the screen for the gate of the court. The pegs of the tabernacle, the pegs of the court, and their cords. The garments of ministry for ministering in the holy place. The holy garments of Aaron, the priest, and the garments of his sons to minister as priests. And all the congregation of the children of Israel departed from the presence of Moses. And everyone came whose heart was stirred, and everyone whose spirit was willing. And they brought the God's offering for the work of the tabernacle of meeting, for all its service, and for the holy garments. They came, both men and women, as many as had a willing heart, and brought earrings and nose rings and necklaces, all jewelry of gold. That is, every man who offered an offering of gold to the God. And every man with whom was found blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hair, red skins of rams, and badger skins brought them. Everyone who offered an offering of silver or bronze brought the God's offering, and everyone with whom was found acacia wood for any work of the service brought it. All the women who were gifted artisans spun yarn with their hands and brought what they had spun of blue, purple, and scarlet, and fine linen, blue, purple, and scarlet. And all the women whose hearts stirred with wisdom spun yarn of goat's hair. The rulers brought onyx stones, and the stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate, and spices of oil for the light, for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense. The children of Israel brought a free willing offering to the God. All the men and women whose hearts were willing to bring material for all kinds of work which the God by the hand of Moses had commanded to be done. And Moses said to the children of Israel, see, the God is called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, and the family of Judah. And he is filled with him the Spirit of God, in wisdom and understanding and knowledge and all manner of workmanship, to design artistic works, to work in gold and silver and bronze, in cutting jewels for setting, in carving wood, and to work in all manner of artistic workmanship. And he has put it in his heart the ability to teach in him, and Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the family of Dan. He has filled them with skill to do all manner of work of the engraver and the designer and the tapestry maker in blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine linen, and of the weaver, those who do every work, and those who design artistic works. Chapter 36. And Bezalel and Aholiab, and every gifted artisan in whom the God has put wisdom and understanding to know how to do all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary, shall do according to all that the God has commanded. Then Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab, and every gifted artisan in whose heart the God had put wisdom, everyone whose heart was stirred to come and do the work. And they received from Moses all the offering which the children of Israel brought for the work of the service of making the sanctuary. So they continued bringing to him free will offerings every morning. Then all the craftsmen who were doing all the work of the sanctuary came, each from the work he was doing. And they spoke to Moses, saying, the people bring much more than enough for the service of the work of which the God commanded us to do. So Moses gave a commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. And the people were restrained from bringing. For the material they had was sufficient for all the work to be done. Indeed, too much. Chapter 36, verse 8. Then all the gifted artisans gathered among them who worked on the tabernacle, made 10 curtains woven of fine linen and of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, with artistic designs of cherubim. They made them. The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The curtains were all the same size, and he coupled 5 curtains to one another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled to one another. He made loops of blue yarn on the edge of the curtain, on the cleavage of one set. Likewise he did on the outer edge of the other curtain of the second set. 50 loops he made on one curtain, 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain on the end of the second set. The loops held one curtain to another. And he made 50 clasps of gold and coupled the curtains to one another with the clasps, that it might be one tabernacle. He made 1 curtain of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. He made 11 curtains. The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The 11 curtains were the same size. He coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves, and he made 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain of the second set. He also made 50 bronze clasps to couple the tent together, that it might be one. Then he made a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of badger skins above that. For the tabernacle he made boards of acacia wood standing upright. The length of each board was 10 cubits, and the width of each board a cubit and a half. Each board had 2 tenons for binding one to another. Thus he made for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side. 40 sockets of silver he made to go under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, the north side, he made 20 boards, and then 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. For the west side of the tabernacle, he made 6 boards. He also made 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the tabernacle, and they were coupled at the bottom and coupled together at the top by 1 ring. Thus he made both of them for the 2 corners. So there were 8 boards in their sockets, 16 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. And he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the tabernacle, 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle on the far side westward. And he made a middle bar to pass through the boards from one end to the other. And he overlaid the boards with gold, made the rings of gold to be holders for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made a veil of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. It was worked with an artistic design of cherubim. And he made for it 4 pillars of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, with their hooks of gold, and he cast 4 sockets in silver for them. He also made a screen for the tabernacle door of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen made by a weaver, and its 5 pillars. Oh, apologize. Apologize. I'm looking ahead a little bit too fast. Apologize. My bad. Let me go back. Chapter 36, verse 37, Exodus. He also made a screen for the tabernacle door of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and a fine woven linen made by a weaver, and its 5 pillars with their hooks. And he overlaid their capitals with their rings with gold, but their 5 sockets were bronze. Exodus chapter 37. Then Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits was its length, and a cubit and a half its width, and a cubit and a half its height. He overlaid it with pure gold inside and outside, and made a molding of gold all around it. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold to be set in its 4 corners, 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other side of it. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. And he put the poles into the rings at the sides of the ark to bear the ark. He also made a mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits was its length, and a cubit and a half its width. He made 2 cherubim of beaten gold. He made them of one piece at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. 1 cherub at one end on this side, and the other cherub at the other end on that side. He made the cherubim at the 2 ends of one piece with the mercy seat. The cherubim spread out their wings above and covered the mercy seat with their wings. They faced one another. The faces of the cherubim were toward the mercy seat. He made a table of acacia wood. 2 cubits was its length, a cubit its width, and a cubit and a half its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold and made a molding of gold all around it. And he made a frame of head breadth all around it, and made a molding of gold for the frame all around it. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that were at its 4 legs. The rings were close to the frame as holders for the poles to bear the table. And he made the poles of acacia wood to bear the table, and overlaid them with gold. He made of pure gold the utensils which were on the table, its dish, its cups, its bowl, and its pitchers for pouring. He also made the lampstand of pure gold. Of hammered work he made the lampstand, its shaft, its branches, its poles, its ornamental knobs, and its flowers were of the same piece. And 6 branches came out of the sides, 3 branches on the lampstand out of one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side. There were 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on one branch, with an ornamental knob, ornamental knob, and a flower. and 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on the other branch with an ornamental knob and a flower. And so for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. And on the lampstand itself were 4 bowls made like almond blossoms, each with its ornamental knob and flower. There was a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches extending from it. The knobs and their branches were one piece. All of it was one hammered piece of pure gold. And he made it 7 lamps, its wick trimmers, and its trays of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold he made it with all its utensils. He made the incense altar of acacia wood. Its length was a cubit, and its width a cubit. It was square, and 2 cubits was its height. Its horns were of one piece with it. And he overlaid it with pure gold, its tops, its sides all around, and its horns. He also made for it a molding of gold all around it. He made 2 rings of gold for it under its molding by its 2 corners on both sides, as holders for the poles which were to bear it. And he made the poles of acacia wood, and he overlaid them with gold. He also made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of sweet spices according to the work of the perfumer. Even then, perfume. Even back then, baby, we were still perfume, boy. Yeah, of the chapter 38. He made the altar of burnt offerings of acacia wood. 5 cubits was its length, and 5 cubits its width. It was square, and its height was 3 cubits. He made the horns on its 4 corners. The horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with bronze. And he made all the utensils for the altar: the pans, the shovels, the basins, the forks, and the fire pans. All these utensils he made of bronze. And he made a grate of bronze network for the altar under its rim, midway from the bottom. He cast 4 rings for the 4 corners of the bronze grating as holders for the poles. And he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. Then he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar with which to bear it. He made the altar hollow with boards. He made the lever of bronze and its base of bronze from the bronze mirrors of the serving women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then he made the court on the south side. The hangings of the court were of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long. There were 20 pillars for them with 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. On the north side, the hangings were 100 cubits long, with 20 pillars and their 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. And on the west side, there were hangings of 50 cubits with 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. For the east side, the hangings were 50 cubits. The hangings of one side of the gate were 15 cubits long, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. And the same for the other side of the court gate. On this side and that were hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. All the hangings of the court all around were of fine woven linen. The sockets for the pillars were bronze, the hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver, and the overlay of the capitals was silver, and all the pillars of the court had bands of silver. The screen for the gate of the court was woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. The length was 20 cubits, and the height along its width was 5 cubits, corresponding to the hangings of the court. And there were 4 pillars with their 4 sockets of bronze. Their hooks were silver, and the overlay of the capitals and their bands was silver. All the pegs of the tabernacle and of the court all around were bronze. This is the inventory of the tabernacle. The tabernacle of the testimony, which was counted according to the commandment of Moses for the service of the Levites by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the family of Judah, made all that God had commanded Moses, and with him was Aholiab, the son of Ahishama, of the family of Dan, an engraver and a designer, a weaver of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine linen. All the gold that was used in all the work of the holy place, that is, the gold of the offering, was 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. And the silver from those who who were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. A baker for each man, that is half a shekel, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone included in the numbering from 20 years old and above, for 603,550 men. And for the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary and the bases of the veil, 100 sockets from the 100 talents, 1 talent for each socket. Then from the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, overlaid their capitals, and made bands for them. The offering of bronze was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. And with it he made the sockets of the door of the tabernacle of meeting, the bronze altar, the bronze grating for it, and all the utensils for the altar, the sockets for the court all around, the bases for the court gate, all the pegs for the tabernacle, and all the pegs for the court all around. Chapter 39. Of the blue, purple, and scarlet thread they made garments of ministry for ministering in the holy place. And he made the holy garment for Aaron as God had commanded Moses. He made an ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. And they beat the gold into thin sheets and cut it into threads to work it in with the blue, purple, and scarlet thread and the fine linen into artistic designs. They made shoulder straps for it to couple it together. It was coupled together at its 2 edges. And the intricately woven band of his ephod that was on it was of the same workmanship, woven of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen, as the God had commanded Moses. And they set onyx stones enclosed in settings of gold. They were engraved as signets are engraved with the names of the sons of Israel. He put them on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel, as the God had commanded Moses. And he made the breastplate artistically woven like the workmanship of the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. They made the breastplate square by doubling it. A span was its length, and a span its width when doubled. And they set it in 4 rows of stone, a row with a sardius, a topaz, and an emerald was the first row. The second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, a yasip, and agate, and an amethyst. The fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed and set in gold in their mountains. There were 12 stones according to the names of the sons of Israel. Again, Exodus chapter 9, verse 14. There were 12 stones according to the names of the sons of Israel. The sons of Israel, not the tribes of Israel. I don't come from a tribe. I come from the sons of Israel. There was just, I have writing that says I come from the first tribe. Yes, I do. But that was before I really seen chapter 39, verse 14, Exodus. There were 12 stones according to the names of the sons of Israel. 12 sons, 12 families of Israel. Read. According to the names engraved like a signet, each one with its own name according to the 12 families. And they made claims for the breastplate at the end, and they made chains for the breastplate at the ends like braided cords of pure gold. They also made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 braided chains of gold and the 2 rings on the ends of the breastplate. The 2 ends of the 2 braided chains they fastened in the 2 settings, and they put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in the front. And they made 2 rings of gold and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate on the edge of it, which was on the inward side of the ephod. They made 2 other gold rings and put them on the 2 shoulder straps underneath the ephod towards its front, right at the seam above the intricately woven band of the ephod. And they bound the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod with a blue cord, so they would be above the intricately woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate would not come loose from the ephod, as the God had commanded Moses. He made the robe of the ephod of woven work, all of blue. And there was an opening in the middle of the robe, like the opening in a coat of ma'il, with a woven binding all around the opening so that it would not tear. They made on the hem of the robe pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet, and of fine woven linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and they put the bells between the pomegranates on the hem of the robe all around between the pomegranates. A bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe to minister in it as the God had commanded Moses. They made tunics artistically woven of fine linen for Aaron and his sons, a turban of fine linen, exquisite hats of fine linen, short trousers of fine woven linen, and a sash of fine woven linen with blues, purple, and scarlet thread, made by a weaver as the God had commanded Moses. Then they made a plate of the holy crown of pure gold and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the God. And they tied to it a blue cord to fasten it above on the turban as the God had commanded Moses. Thus all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting was finished, and the children of Israel did according to all that the God had commanded Moses, so they did. And they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent and all its furnishing, its clasps, its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets. The covering of ram skins dyed red, the covering of baptist skins, and the veil of the covering. The ark of the testimony with its poles, and the mercy seat, the table, all its utensils, and the showbread, the pure gold lampstand with its lamps, the lamp set in order, all its utensils, and the oil for light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, the screen for the tabernacle door. The bronze altar is great of bronze, its poles and all its utensils, the laver with its base, the hangings of the court, its pillars and its sockets, the screen for the court gate, its cords and its pegs, all the utensils for the service of the tabernacle for the tent of meeting, and the garments of ministry to minister in the holy place, the holy garments of Aaron the priest and his son's garments to minister as priests, according to all that the God had commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did all the work. Then Moses looked over all the work, and indeed they had done it, as the God had commanded, just so they had done it. And Moses blessed them. Then the God said to chapter 40, excuse me, Exodus chapter 40. Then the God spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. You shall put in it the ark of the testimony, and partition off the ark with the veil. You shall bring in the table and arrange the things that are to be set in order on it. And you shall bring in the lampstand and light its lamps. You shall also set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put up the screen for the door of the tabernacle. Then you shall set the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and you shall set the laver between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. You shall set up the court all around, and hang up the screen at the court gate. And you shall take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and all that is in it, and you shall hallow it and all its utensils, and it shall be holy. You shall anoint the altar of the burnt offering and all its utensils, and consecrate the altar. The altar shall be most holy. And you shall anoint the laver and its base, and consecrate it. Then you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and wash them with water. You shall put the holy garments on Aaron, and anoint him, and consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priest. And you shall bring his sons and clothe them with tunics, and you shall anoint them as you anointed their father, and they may minister to me as that they may minister to me as priests. For their anointing shall surely be in everlasting priesthood throughout their generation. Thus Moses did according to all that the God had commanded him. So he did. And it came to pass in the first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. So Moses raised up the tabernacle, fastened its sockets, set up its boards, put in its bars, and raised up its pillars. And he spread out the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent on top of it, as the God had commanded Moses. He took the testimony and put it into the ark, inserted the poles through the rings of the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, hung up the veil of the covering, and partitioned off the ark of the testimony as the God had commanded Moses. He put the table in the tabernacle of meeting on the north side of the tabernacle outside the veil, and he set the bread in order upon it before the God as the God had commanded Moses. He put the lampstand in the tabernacle of meeting across from the tabernacle on the south side of the tabernacle, and he lit the lamps before the God as the God had commanded Moses. He put the gold altar in the tabernacle of meeting in front of the veil, and he burned sweet incense on it as the God had commanded Moses. He hung up the screen at the door of the tabernacle, and he put the altar of burnt offerings before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered it offered upon it the burnt offerings and the grain offering as the God had commanded Moses. He said the laver between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and put water there for washing. And Moses, Aaron, and his sons will wash their hands and their feet with water from it. Whenever they went into the tabernacle meeting, and when they came near the altar, they washed as the God had commanded Moses. And he raised up the court all around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung up the screen of the court gate. So Moses finished the work. Then the cloud covered the tabernacle meeting, and the glory of the God filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle meeting, because the cloud rested above it, and the glory of the God filled the tabernacle. Whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tabernacle, the children of Israel would go upward in all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they would not journey till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the God was above the tabernacle by day, and fire was over by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journeys. And that is the end of the second book of Moses, called Exodus. Yes, I know. I appreciate, being alive. I appreciate being able to do what I do. And I appreciate getting understanding what this really means, man. Because, look, I got nothing against nobody. But as I read, if you catch up or whatever, you'll see, I'm not, hey, listen, we did it to ourselves. Hear what he just said. He already said this from drama, and we want to do it again. So we want to consume us again, because, man, but nobody can comprehend. That'd be us today, still worshiping their God, fake God. Raise your baby up. I mean, I was raised up to believe in Jesus. Young black man, 13 white guys gonna get you. Yes, Jesus. Yes, Jesus. Then when I start reading the book, wait a minute, feet of polished gold, hair like the wood of man. I looked down, I seen the feet, and I did this a touch. Repetitious, right? Yeah, I know. Repetition is what made things happen. That's why when people read the Bible, when you read who begot who, you read it at one time, or you read what you can read of it that one time, the next time you flip it. When you read this book, you read who begot who each and every time. When you read this book, each and every time, who begot who, word for word, page for page. That is the most arrogant thing I've ever seen about Christians. And they had a nerve to flip the page. I read this once. So you flip the page. How arrogant is that? Wow. Really, truly. That is truly arrogant. I did it. When I used to read the Bible, I did it. Yeah. I already read it. Flip the page. Pick up the Bible. Point something. Oh, yeah, right. What? Man, you can read it front to back. I have. Book of Life. Front to back. You still ain't going to memorize it. You're not going to memorize it. You're not trying to analyze it. You be what you are. You're a mortal being. If you understand that you're a mortal being, then it's not hard to understand that. Guess what that means? Mortal being. You're a mortal being. Be what you are. Be happy. I know I am. Because I think on this last one, only one person. Cool. I can just one person, man. If I could just one person, you comprehend. I ain't asking nobody to understand me. This ain't me. I went to him and asked him, who am I? And he told me, go back to this book. He took me to the end of the book so that I could see the book of life. And he told me to go back to the front and read it like the book of life. And when you read it like the book of life, watch. I was blown away. Totally blown away. Page 1, the book of life, blown away. All my whole life, he's talking to Jesus. Because I've been implanted as a child. What does it say? Teach him as a child. Idiot, teach him as a child. And as a child, you teach a young black man to depend on 13 white people to get to heaven, where he's going to see no reflection of himself. And you wonder why the young black man run around confused. Because when he started reading, he see his reflection, but everybody keep telling him it ain't his reflection. Oh, Jesus ain't white, he's black. Ain't no such thing as Jesus, baby. Can't get a G out of J-E and no language on the face of this earth. None. And when you come with that yay stuff, yes. In Kiswahili, as you've been hearing me saying Jacob, I don't say because at the beginning of a word in Kiswahili, the J is not a J, it's a Y. When it's in the middle of a word, Benjamin, Benjamin, then it's a J. Yeah. But at the beginning of a word, J, sus. Easy. And if you want to get totally technical, using the proper English, it's Jesus. It's not no G. It's J. Not no G. Born in Jerusalem, J. E. King of the Jews, J. E. Baptized with John, betrayed by Judas, stepdad named Joseph. Enough said. Anyhow, again, asante sana. Mimi nikupende na wewe, mimi nikupende na mimi. Moja kupenda. By the grace of the God. Peace.